What a day at the Etihad Stadium. Manchester City 6, Manchester United 3 in the derby. I see Erling Haaland just walking down behind us on the pitch. Brian Kerr, have you ever seen anything like him?
I've seen a lot of centre forwards in my time. I don't think I've seen anybody as consistent as Erling Haaland has been at the start of this season. You know, he's a bit of a phenomenon. You think he's only 22 years of age, and he's now at 103 goals in 100 club games at fairly top level, not always Premier League level, obviously. I mentioned earlier some of the clubs, Molde, Norway, Salzburg, the Austrian League, moving on to Dortmund, and he's come here, probably the biggest challenger of all, and he's just been sensational start. I mean, it's amazing stuff.
What has he got? You just watched him for 90 minutes out there.
What has he got? Well, I think it's obvious his physical attributes. First of all, he's about 6'4", 6'5", and probably about 14 stone. But as well as that, he moves very quickly. He's worked very hard, I think, lately on his right side, on making his right side and his finishing on his right foot as strong as his left foot. He's very powerful in the air. He's come from a part of the game where heading is obviously considered a good part of the centre forward skill, which has added something to Manchester City that they haven't had previously, going back to, say, the Aguero days. It wasn't about his heading ability, or Jesus as a centre forward, or Sterling. So he's added that. So these physical attributes. But apart from that, his movement, his control, his touch, his power.
You've just watched him in the flesh for 90 minutes. Was there anything that surprised you about
him? Not really. I mean, I've seen a fair bit of him playing international football already with Norway, where he's playing with very limited players compared to some of the teams they're playing against with Norway. So in that situation, you see where the fella has heart and he's a desire, and whether he's prepared to put up with bad passes and make them into good passes by the honesty of his effort and graft. And often at Dortmund they were outplayed in some of the Champions League games we saw him in as well. But he always played with great spirit and looked like he might pull it out of the bag for the team, even though the rest of his teammates at times weren't capable of staying with the opposition. So no, there wasn't really anything about him that surprised me today. I always thought he was a smashing player, but just seeing it live in the cauldron of this game, of the derby match.
I'm laughing because some young lad has just wandered onto the pitch, is now running the length of the pitch. He just ran onto the pitch to get a selfie with Erling Haaland, which he managed. Haaland wasn't too impressed with him getting a touch on him. The security staff are coming slowly. Oh, he's gone. Oh, is he going to make it? This is the best stuff we've seen all day. Oh, one steward, has he got the move? Oh, he's given up. He's going one way. He's getting surrounded. No, he's put his hands up.
He's given in.
He hasn't gone. He's all right. He tried his best. Listen, he got a selfie.
He's
the
given
biggest punishment
in.
you could give him is forcing him to delete his selfie with Erling Haaland.
Yeah, I mean, what did they do?
Do now? Does he get thrown out? Does he get banned for
get thrown out? He'd probably
a couple of years?
take a season ticket off him. But anyway, going back to the Haaland one. So I don't see any obvious weakness in this game. He's powerful, strong. Saw when his contribution when they hadn't got the ball today was interesting. It didn't surprise me because I've seen that with him with Dortmund, an urgency to go back and help the team retrieve the ball.
Having obviously watched a lot of him over the last few weeks and seen him over recent years, this thing of the amount of touches he has of the ball, and people almost assuming, he just falls asleep for the majority of the game and comes alive when the ball's in the box. He was getting back very early in the game, winning ball inside his own half.
Good touches around the centre circle area. It was often little links with the centre midfield players, with Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, Foden coming out. It was, and sometimes it was about retrieving the ball. There was one time he chased one down over in the right hand corner in the first half where the ball broke out and it looked like Manchester United might be able to set up some sort of an attacker camp. But he burst the gut to get over there and get involved. So, there was no weakness to his game today, but the whole team were spectacularly good, I have to say. say today, Nathan.
You remember watching Dixie Dean, don't you?
Jesus, no. No.
I'm joking.
But I always admire his photograph when I go to Sligo Rovers and see the little shrine to him at the back of the stand in the showgrounds. So I'm aware of Dixie Dean, but no, I didn't see him. But he is scoring on the scale of Dixie Dean, I suppose, at the moment. All sorts going on around us now.
We didn't ask for Erling Haaland's selfie, so we've been surrounded. We let all these people pass if they want to come past as well. Oh, they're going back again. This is enough. This is the most eventful post-match video we've had in a long time. Like at the start of the season, it said this guy's going to get 30 goals. Now you're looking at it with 14 goals in 8 games, 3 consecutive hat-tricks here at the Etihad. Are we looking at the first 40 goal a season Premier League striker if he stays fit?
Yes, would he be the first? I don't know, probably in the Premier League era. But going back, I'm just wondering whether the likes of Graves or Law hit those sort of numbers. Maybe not. But I think we're looking at someone scoring at the rate that we haven't seen in the modern era of football. It's exceptional stuff.
It's fair to say this wasn't a one-man performance by any stretch of the imagination. Phil Foden's also only 22, and he is the man for the big occasion. You think of the games against Liverpool in recent seasons, he has always stood up in those matches, got his hat-trick today. He's passed 50 City goals at only 22. And Jack Grealish, he was actually the one before they got that goal very early who really set the tempo. And him drawing that foul out of Dalot, getting that yellow card, gave that game probably a different edge, because United from then on, it felt like they were on edge.
Yeah, I think that set a tone for the game, that the acceleration that Grealish showed. He picked up the ball close to halfway line, and his first touch he knocked it well behind Dalot, and he was away on his bike. It looked like he was going to stride past him, and that often ends up in a goal when City get into that position where they get beating the wide player. It's usually a cut back, and very often it's a Haaland or Foden type finish. We did eventually see that in the match. Dalot took the foul in the very first minute of the game, or he went for the foul, takes a yellow card, and United were under pressure from the off. And I mean, it was no surprise when the goal came. I don't know how many minutes in, was it 7 minutes in on the first goal?
Yeah.
But they were getting battered before that. I mean, there was that kind of spell where there was 3 balls kind of blocked close to Manchester United goal, and it looked inevitable to go, and they were on the back foot from the off Manchester United. Now, I don't think it was an attitude thing. I think it was Manchester City just come out with the confidence and ability they have, and they blew Manchester United away because of desire and ability as well. And it's week in, week out they can do this stuff. They rarely have a day where you say they're not at it today. They were certainly at it today.
I've only mentioned the front 3 there. Bernardo Silva, for any other team, he's the best player on the pitch. When I'm talking about desire, I'm probably really talking about De Bruyne at times in that first half, who is so strong in possession of the ball, who got back, won it, and the intent that he shows to drive forward again and again, and then the quality of his passing.
And Nathan, you know, something we never mentioned today was the fact that they all played international football during the week, or we mentioned it very, very little on particular players. But these guys were all away playing matches. You know, would have only got back probably late Wednesday or some stage on Wednesday, probably trying Thursday a little bit on Friday. Would have been recovery stuff initially with the guy. So it wouldn't have been a huge amount of time to do those tactical training sessions. Manchester United looked like that, I have to say, in comparison. But you're right. I mean, I love Kevin De Bruyne. I probably admire Bernardo Silva a bit more, because he's had to wait to be a bit of a glory boy in this team, in this club, where David Silva was the main man, Aguero was considered so highly. Bernardo Silva just season after season turns around. The delicacy of touch, he's such a slight looking lad as well. You think, will there be too much power in the game for him? Will he get brushed? But no, not at all. He runs the show with De Bruyne. Gundogan, excellent. Discussed it with Joe before the match. How will they be? How will they be affected by Rodri? But it didn't matter today, because they were so good. I think the balance they had, even without Rodri, was much better than Manchester United's balance in the middle. The balance wasn't quite right with Christian Eriksen and Bruno. No, McTominay, but Bruno Fernandes ahead. McTominay at least did one defensive player. They needed another defensive type player in there. I think if Ten Hag had his time again, he would say, maybe I should have played Casemiro from the start. I mean, you think of his role in Real Madrid in the last couple of seasons, where in big games they often absorb pressure and use the pace of Vinicius Junior, Benzema on the counter-attack and score goals and win the game, as they did in the Champions League final without much of the ball. That might have been the type of recipe Manchester United should have had today. Anthony and Sancho, not enough defensively from them. The full-backs were exposed, but they were exposed by the brilliance of the opposition, who were missing a few players. Were they key players? I think Rodri is a key player. Centre halves don't matter so much when there's so much in control of the game. I like the look of Akanji. I said it during commentary. Always admired him as a player. Sometimes he did get exposed a bit at Dortmund at times, but in general, he looks like. You saw him today. He played at a canter, no bother to him. Ake, very, very good as well. Full-backs, Walker went off, but Cancelo, we didn't see so much of him having to go in to do the overload in the midfield. They were able to do it with the others anyway. Just overall performance is just superb.
They're second in the league still. They're a point behind Arsenal. They're 10 points clear of Liverpool now. Nobody's going to be able to keep pace with that.
I would think not. I mean, you from a football point of view and from an interest point of view, you would hope that we'll have a title race like we had last season, where it went to the very last day and we were here wondering, had we gone to the wrong venue, about where the trophy might be getting presented at one stage when Villa were winning 2-0. But, you know, you're looking at Liverpool last year going to the last days of final Champions League and the last day of the league here chasing the title, and they won the 2 cups, and you're going this year, can they go again? It just looks like they can't go again at the moment. It's going to be very hard because Manchester City dropped so few points. They've dropped 4 points this season already, the draw with Villa, the draw with Newcastle, and it kind of gives everyone a bit of hope. Well, maybe they'll lose a couple of games along the way early on, but it's not looking that way, is it? Arsenal great yesterday, winning at Spurs, just a 1 defeat to Manchester United so far, looking much stronger than ever before. Liverpool obviously off at this stage, struggling to win games. Is there anyone else? Chelsea in a state of transition, I think is how you'd phrase it, not been consistent enough by any means. And we're saying this after 7-8 games. It's worrying from the point of view of where is the season going to go. Yes, Nathan, but maybe the chink, or you'd hope, would be with the teams having so many games coming up that they might struggle to find the consistency, and even Manchester City. But you look at the players today, and they're missing a few players. You you'd fear for the rest really on today's performance for sure.
What about Manchester United then? Second time this season, they were 4-0 down at half time in a game after Brentford earlier in the season. Since then, obviously, they've had a massive revival. They won 4 games in a row. They won 3 away from home. And everyone sort of thought this was set up for maybe a Solskjaer-esque counter-attacking performance against Manchester City, but they never got to the pace of the game.
No, I think I said early on that the manager was coming in, was finding his way. He obviously quite an experienced manager, but he was only learning about the Premier League as a manager. You would have watched plenty of it on the television over the years and probably visited games, but it's a different situation when you're involved in the team and you're up against the opposition week-to-week basis. And like those experiments early on with playing Christian Eriksen off the front as false 9, and then playing him, as a holding player in midfield with Fred, and they didn't work early on. A few other things he did, the Maguire partnership with Martinez early on, that wasn't working out either. Luke Shaw, so he was learning as he went along and hearing, probably talking with his staff and analysing games, and he's made changes in it. But I think he probably fell into a little bit of a comfort that, we're okay, we've just beaten Arsenal, who are going quite well, we've played very well, we've won 3-1, had a bit about us, we're well in the game always, but the front players, Rashford back at his best, Sancho looks like he's got a bit back, the sort of form he showed at Dortmund. Anthony gets a goal, and he's kind of thinking, this could be alright, we can almost take Manchester United on. But they were blitzed from the off today, so I think, I said earlier, if he had another look at it, I think he probably would have went for a more defensive type shape. He's probably rarely had to do that in his career at the clubs he's at, particularly the Ajax thing, where they would have been dominating games all the time. They'd rarely have a day when they'd have to over-respect the opposition to an extent. They say, well, we better play it a bit tighter today. We'd play on the counter. we won't. We'll concede a bit of ground, but we'll make sure we're not caught short in the vital areas of the pitch. Manchester United today were just so outplayed in every area of the pitch. The midfield was bedraggled look at the times. The full-backs were under pressure. Doubts that people would have had about Dalot were exposed today. He was limited. Malaysia, young player coming from the Dutch league and not up to it. So, learning experience I think for Manchester United again, and it's a setback for them. But I don't think they're not going to be in contention. That's for sure. But if they go on, they might get in contention for the top 4. All right.
Bit of consolation on the scoreboard at the end with a couple of goals. Brian, great stuff as always.